Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Garrett Duncan was born and raised on the Navajo Reservation. His clans are the Bitter Water Clan, born for the Red Running into the Water Clan. He underwent his spiritual awakening in 2008. It happened on the 27th day of his 27th year. After his awakening, Garrett was given guidance from an elder of the tribe to assist the peoples of Earth. Upon receiving his eagle feathers, Garrett was initiated into the world of shamanism. His mentor had informed Garrett of his role to act as a bridge between cultures, in addition to providing healing and counsel to those who sought his energies. The elder confirmed Garrett's gift of sight and is known as a seer among the Navajo. His gift also included hands-on healing through energy that radiates from his hands. Garrett is currently acting in service to his people and peoples of Earth, using his wisdoms and knowledge to bring healing into those in need. Now let's welcome Garrett to the show. Hi, I'm Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, where we co-create powerful, conscious conversations on the leading edge. Today I have Garrett joining me, and we're going to be talking about modern-day shamanism. Plus, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about so much more. So welcome, Garrett.
Thanks, Angela. I'm here. We finally brought this into manifestation.
Yes. Yeah, we've been working on coming together for a while, and I'm excited because, I trust in divine timing. And so first off, congratulations for letting go of your day job.
Thank you. It was about time.
Yes. Spirit is like, come on, let's get the party going.
Exactly. And then I'll look back and like, man, I know I should have left a lot sooner, but it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious, you have a rich background, and I would love to start there just so we can kind of,
Okay.
let's just start there and talk about your personal spiritual awakening, because I know that there was some significant things that happened,
Yes.
and
Yeah. And if it's okay with you, I also like to start off by, speaking our introduction in my Navajo tongue.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
All right, go with that. Yad eshe a Garrett Duncan yinisha. Twitter cheat ni nislido tkachi ni bashes chin. Na kaidene dasha che huan sana dashanella. Tas na asti the ayas and nasha ahot ayat the nenishlo. So welcome everybody. My name is Garrett Duncan, and I am born for the Bitterwater clan. And my father's clan is the Red Running into the Water clan. My maternal grandfather's the Mexican clan, and paternal is Mini Hogans. I come from a small community called Sanasti, New Mexico, located on the Navajo Reservation in the Four Corners area. And this is how we do our formal greeting, introducing ourselves in this manner. And so I usually like to open that up, to bring that awareness.
Yes.
There's this saying among our people, too, with our traditions. They say, Bala'ashkla.niglon. Bala'ashkla.niglon means we all have 5 fingers. So because we have 5 fingers, we're all connected. We're all related.
Yes, we are. And I swear, I don't understand why there's even a confusion about that. But,
yeah, right.
But let's not go down that path.
No, let's not. It brings a little bit of the fun, right, out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but, with me, as you had asked, back in 2008, I went through my spiritual awakening process, and in this time frame, it happened on the 27th day of my 27th year here on Earth. I was born on January 27th, And I'm an Aquarius, so it's definitely our time to shine. And what was going on was I was communicating with my nephew who was yet to be born. He was still in sister's womb. He was talking to me before during the dream state, coming to me in the dreams, was telling me about like some of what he was going to do on Earth. He was talking about some future events. On top of that, I was going through a job layoff. I was working for a Fortune 500 company at the time, and we had received word that we were being laid off. And so a lot of it correlated to these events, huge, very significant events that were going on with me on a personal level. I like to say on a muggle level. And it was happening all at the same time. And what was going through with me is that whole week of my birthday, I was going through like this bliss, like this huge bliss. And I felt like my crown, now I know it's my crown chakra was opening up here, and I was pulling this energy down into my body. And then my hands, it was like my hands would radiate. It was like radiating out. And I was just like sitting there smiling in my cube, and my supervisor comes over and she's like, Garrett, um, what's going on with you? And I'm like, no, something great. I just know everything's gonna be fine. And I was just sitting there smiling, and I even went like this. I was trying to put my smile down, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I kept going back out, and then she's like, "Are you high?" I'm like, "No, something's going on," and so that's what happened.
Yeah.
And she finally just said, "Whatever's going on with you, I could feel it." So that's what like really gave me the validation with her. Is she said something's very different about you, and she goes, "I could feel it. It's a lot more stronger," and so that's what she was telling me. And it just kind of correlated to a lot of other events too. I kid you not, the 3 hour story.
Yeah. Okay, but so what unfolded after that? Like so you had like the pre, before the 27th. Then after that, you went through like a series of events. So
Yeah, there
so
was
what
still.
unfolded for you?
Well, I was having more dreams of the future. This was back in 2008, so a lot of the dreams were showing me Earth changes that were going to happen as a result of, 2012. I was seeing events around this. I was also getting events for me, on a personal level, what in many ways was spirit connecting with me, showing with me, the type of work that I was going to do, the dynamic of the work that I was going to do. And then on top of that, as I was going through this layoff, I was communing continuously with my nephew. And my sister is a welder. She still is. And she was welding with him until her 6 months before she was too big.
Mm-hmm.
And in Navajo tradition, they say that when you're expecting like that you're not supposed to be working too much with the elements. So a lot of the times, because she was working with fire, poor baby was getting too like overheated. So he would tell me in the dream saying like, Uncle, you need to have mom go see a medicine man, and he needs to do some healing or some prayers for us. So he would give me that information, and then I would relay it back to my mom, and then my mom, from that instance, would call him up and set an appointment, and he would come over. So a lot of it was I had to be that voice for him, and I had to also be that interventor. Like I had to intervene on his behalf. And so what ended up happening was if it came down all the way till he was born, he pulled me. He said, "You have to be here. You have to welcome me into this world." And of course, through the whole duration, I'm trying to hold the fort down for a lot of individuals at the company and that department. And I was just being smiley and letting them know that was going to be okay, that everything was going to be great, that everything, with them was going to be, they were going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so, with that said, I was just, like I said, being that shining light, letting them know, giving that positive reinforcement. And so, when it came down to it, I had to go back down to New Mexico toward the last end of it when she was expecting. And then I just saw this vision that I would trigger her labor. Like I would hug her, and then all of a sudden she would go into labor.
How awesome
Yeah,
is that? One
yeah.
extra squeeze and out
Exactly.
pops
Just one squeeze,
baby.
and then yeah, I was just gonna go help her, and then he was gonna come out. But
Yeah.
in the midst of all that, I look back at it, and it was a form of, for me, developing my telepathy, connecting with him, him speaking to me in the dream state. But now it's evolved to where I can communicate very much through telepathic connection with all babies. So it's like a lot of babies, a lot of young ones who aren't speaking yet. I could hear their thoughts. I could feel what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because after a while, my mom said to me, she says, "You need to come home because we need you to be that translator because we don't understand, what the baby needs or what he's." So she would tease me about that. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and how you're describing being the light in this situation with at work. Um, I think that there are so many light workers out there that are
Mhm.
in 9 to 5 jobs, and
Yes.
they're maybe not feeling like they're not really
So,
doing their calling or their purpose.
yes.
But I think that's a great example of how you were radiating this light and you were creating this container of safety and
Yes.
and holding that beautiful energy. And so I want people that are watching and listening to take note, like, consider if you are in a 9 to 5 job or in a place where you don't feel like you're really stepping into your fullness as a light worker, that you can really do that in any situation.
Mhm. And what I've taken from that, just to kind of piggyback off you, Angela, is that I've been sharing with a lot of individuals because, just like you said, they're coming to me with some frustration. They're saying, I don't feel like I'm living my divine purpose. Oh
Hmm.
my God, I want to leave my job. I'm not happy. And it's really hindering, what I feel is my progress. So a lot of these individuals are coming to me. And what I've been sharing with them is like, if you can look at it from the perspective of, that you don't necessarily have to go out and really do a whole bunch while you're at the job. As long as you're maintaining your presence, the peace that's radiating from within, that's reverberating out because you're still serving a purpose, even though it's heavy, even though it feels aggressive and it's not fun. As long as you maintain that peace within yourself, and you see that job as serving a purpose of only, maybe from a financial perspective, it's only serving just that reason, then it helps them to kind of understand, okay, it's a little bit of a fine balance here. This
Hmm.
job doesn't necessarily define who I am, but I am in this role. I am trying to, work on shining the light to as many individuals as I could. And those sparkles, as I like to call them, those sparkles kind of radiate out, they just radiate out because we're at most peace within ourselves. And then, just like what I was saying about my supervisor, she felt it. She could feel something different, and she
Hmm.
just knew, Garrett, what's wrong with you? You're different. There's something different about you. So a lot of that peaceful intentions or just more that positive energy, that's what touches, and that's how you kind of spread the seeds from that fashion.
Hmm. Yes. So, so important. So
Mhm.
important. Um,
Mhm.
okay, I want to hear, and I so I know this is really sacred. So please only share what is appropriate. But on,
Sure.
I would love to hear your journey on becoming a shaman or stepping
Mhm.
into being a shaman.
Mhm. So after I helped deliver my nephew, during that time, it came down to the final little moments. And what happened was went down there, hugged my sister, nothing happened. And I was like, I don't understand this, because I could hear like right to the side of my ear, I could hear like a whispering. It was telling me like, okay, pick up this, take this, go to this mountain, say a prayer, take this soil, take these waters with you, and you're going to need it. You're going to need it. I didn't know what I was going to use it for. And so when it came down to it, when I got there, I hugged her and nothing happened. And I said, I don't understand this, spirit. I feel like, I got a good grasp of my intuition here. And what ended up happening is we brought my uncle over, who was a medicine man. He came over and he validated for me, for us. He said as he was doing his diagnosis, he was looking in Navajo tradition, they do a lot of crystal gazing. So they work with crystals
Mm-hmm.
and they utilize that as a divination tool. And so he was looking into his crystal and he said that, he goes, the baby is waiting for him because he was waiting for my other half, which was my brother. My brother was in the Marines at that time. He was flying back from July and flying back here. Um, and my uncle said that the baby was waiting for him. And then he looked at me. He says, one half is here. He goes, one half is here. The other half hasn't showed up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looked at me. He said to me, he says, you represent the Hojonje, as it's called. Hojonje is the blessing way, which is the mother, which is the nurturer, which is the healer. And then he said, your brother represents the warrior, the male, the protector. Mm-hmm. And he said, before the baby will come out, both pieces needed to come together. And he said, once they come together, then baby will come. And so he gave this validation to me, and he said to me that, he goes, your ability, your gifts, he pointed right here on my third eye. He goes, your gifts are here. And then he said, your gifts are right here. And then exactly like I was saying, I was feeling this energy radiating out of my hand. And that's what he validated for me. And he said, you have the gift and you're going to be able to help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And he said, one of your roles, he goes, your primary role is to be a bridge. He said, you're bridging your foundation of being here with us, our people and stuff, and taking back to here in Denver and vice versa, learning the techniques and, modalities here and taking them back to them to help them in their ascension. Mm-hmm. And he had shared that the ceremonies and prayers were not as effective as they used to be. And he said the reason for that is because prior to 2012, all the kind of like indigenous traditions were still catering from a vibrational level. They were still catering to an old earth before the ascension, before 2012. And so he said, your role is to be that bridge to anchor both but new vibrations of new Mama Earth to old Earth. And at the same time, you're helping the indigenous peoples along with everybody else make their ceremonies more effective. Mm-hmm. So that's what he had validated for me. And then the initiation took place after I received my eagle feathers. So I got my eagle feathers. He did the prayers. And then in some way he activated me to incorporate and work with their energy. So that's where I guess you would say the real initiation into shamanism came into play for me. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you want to say more?
I was just going to say, in another, up until that time, what was happening, though, I do understand, when you start thinking about past lives, I know I've been in this role many times, both male and female. I know I've been medicine man. I know I've been shaman. I know I've been medicine woman, especially, in cultures, the indigenous cultures such as the Mayans. I've seen lifetimes where I was like a Mayan priest. I've seen Incan lifetimes, and that's where I established a resonance with the condor energies. I've seen, there was another one, and like here around this area, have you heard of Mesa Verde and Chaco Canyon? Mm-hmm. So those peoples, I was part of the ancestral pueblos of that time. So I know that I've done this role many times before. And to me, it was almost as though it was like just a natural part of the awakening process. I was just opening back to my gifts that I've already developed. And aside from that, I've learned that I was Egyptian. I learned that I was Nordic. I learned that I was even part of a coven. That's where my magical goddess side comes through. I had a very strong feminine warrior energy, So that's why, with your show and stuff, I really connect to that piece. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know I was badass too. From a more coven type of role. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from that instance, all these perception and all these lifetimes, it's like they've added up to now. Mm-hmm. Because now is when, I chose to come back here to Earth to assist the people, to help them remember who they are, to remember these aspects of them, and which way they were medicine people. So a lot of the ones that come to see me, they are most likely they've had an indigenous connection before.
Hmm.
They have been, native in another lifetime. And what I've learned that it's okay. I give them the validation saying it's okay to use sage, it's okay to drum, it's okay, even though you have to be like you were, saying, being very respectful with the tradition, but it's necessary. It is necessary at this time because we continue to bring these medicines back into the collective, back
Hmm.
into knowledge. So that's kind of where we're at with all of it, and that's where, with me, the more modern day sense is bringing, working from city life, how to incorporate some of these practices, working with, you're not having access to go to the mountains or go to the ocean as much as you would like, but you still at least can do some ceremony or ritual in your apartment, for example,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
just find yourself a live plant and work with that right then and there, or go to a park or go work with the trees.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it is about bringing in the directions and the elements and
Yes,
creating sacred space, and we can do that anywhere. Is
correct.
It's with that
Hmm.
intention that is so powerful.
Exactly. And that intention is important because, like, if, for example, if you were to build an altar catered around the elements, then that's where you would incorporate the directions. In Navajo tradition, we utilize, working clockwise manner all the time. So east, south, west, north, and then there's certain elements as well that's programmed into that. So you're working with these elements there in your own personal space, and then you have an initial altar set up. Part of, like, in my classes and teachings, I kind of cater to that and let individuals know, it's like, if you have an intention for the altar is basically just going to unreveal itself. You're just following your heart and following your natural intuition to help guide you. Oh, this crystal is going to be here. This
Hmm.
bowl of water is going to be here. This fire candle is going to be in the center. So it just kind of depicts. And every altar is not going to be the same.
Right. Well, and I think that when I was first coming into my spirituality and shamanism and working with the elements, I was
Hmm.
I was afraid that I was going to do it wrong. And
Yeah.
I think that that's a big message for people to take, is
Hmm.
that as long as you're coming from a pure intention, I
Hmm.
mean, there isn't really a wrong way to do it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And even and looking at from the shadow side of it all, even if you did do it wrong, then that's still an opportunity for you. It's a learning opportunity because now you're like, oh, well, maybe if I put this here instead of there, now you could feel the energetic resonance being a lot different. So
Mm,
it's still an
yes.
opportunity. So in the end, it's like there was no wrong decision to begin with.
Well, and I'm kind of chuckling because I wonder, is there for, do you think can we offend spirit, like if or like if we like, because I call the directions and because I trained in shamanism 10 years
Okay.
ago, and
Uh-huh.
so and I did a vision quest and all of that, and it was in Lakota. um
Uh-huh.
and honestly, I forget, like, I know vaguely what each direction represents,
Mhm.
and but I know sometimes I get things like mixed up.
You
I get a little
forget, right?
dyslexic, and I mean,
Yeah.
are we going to offend anyone, any of the spirits, or are they going to be kind? Are they going to say, "You human, you just need to get it, figured out"?
I would say in that instance, not necessarily. Especially like I said, your intention is, you want to make sure and honor correctly.
Yes.
But if your intention behind it is to build it, but yet you forgot, you're like, oh, I'm sorry. But that's where your ego comes in, as serving as a teacher in that instance, because now, and like with your example, it's saying that, oh, it's you're second guessing. It's like you're okay. I'm not sure. I think I'm offending. I think I'm doing it right. But really, ego is just serving as a teacher in that fashion for you. And then in the end, when you step back and look, you see, oh, wow, wow, it is all perfect. It is all flowing. The only time, and just to answer that question, I guess in some instance that you would offend, it's not so much offending spirit. There might be some where, because like in Navajo tradition, there's a lot of taboos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there was a very particular one where my grandmother would say, you're not supposed to be touching all these like old pot shards or picking them up or collecting them. You stay away from all of those ruins, those ancient sites, because you're going to get sick.
Hmm.
But me, this is where my rebel comes in. I
Of
knew,
course.
yeah, this is where I kind of disagreed with the tradition because I understand why the fear was there to begin with, but the part of me knew that I was part of that people. I knew that I had a past life there. I knew that these were no different, because in my spirit, I was there. I
Yes.
had an affinity. So even though grandma was saying, don't touch it, but I'm like, but why, grandma? These are mine. Or I feel like this was part of my tribe at one time. But what I've learned is that yes, there are some of that balance, like checks and balances that come with that. And sometimes, what's happening, like, especially in that time of dynamic, is that ancestrally, the spirits, the people who live there are still there. They're just operating in another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, it's kind of like I was just explaining this yesterday for another workshop. It's like if someone to come into your space and someone to come into your home, and you feel that kind of like invasion of privacy, it's no different with them. So in that instance, it would be like, you're coming to our home, you're coming into these ruins, but to us, they're still alive, and we're offended. So
Yes.
therefore, in those instances, like in our situation, what we would do is give an offering of some kind and make amends.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times, especially when I've gone to Mesa Verde a couple times, I end up doing that kind of work because I'm helping to recalibrate and to rebalance the relationship between, humanity who doesn't know. They're naive about the whole thing, or they're still sleeping. They're not quite aware. And so I end up doing some prayers. I bring turquoise or I bring other offerings and I take it and I'm like, I'm so sorry on behalf of humans. These ones don't know, here, take this, I'm trying to make amends. And then they do. They're like, okay, so we won't, in some form, we won't get them sick.
Mm-hmm.
They won't get sick. So
Yeah.
I try to, that's kind of like the earth work that I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like you say, it's important to bring an offering if you're going to, there's like an energy exchange.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because Mama Earth here, and we're not quite, moving forward. We're not quite there yet, but each and every day we continue with the building of the new Earth, which is strong heart resonance, right? Mm-hmm. But we're still in duality. Mm-hmm. And that correlates back to what you were indicating about the 8 to 5 job and being in two places at the same time. And you're like, this is not fun. I don't like it anymore. But duality. So both the male and female principle, light and dark, this encompasses a lot of with our philosophy and our traditions, the duality principle. And so giving, like you said, that making amends and say, I'm sorry, here you go, here's an offering, I'm so sorry. And, when we're out collecting the herbs, when we're even gathering feathers or getting some herbals from the live plants, we always bring that offering and say, here, in return for you helping me, or I'm saying a prayer and saying, I'm going to collect you to help the people, to help my family heal, here's this piece of turquoise, or here's this nice water that I can give you. And so there's always been that balance, maintain that balance. And that's what we call hojon. Hojon nasha means may I walk in beauty, but it's more like this beauty of who we are as a human. Internal beauty as well as external, but it's beauty of that balance between us and the planet and us with our soul family, with our family relationships. So it encompasses a lot of these different principles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and thank you for that reminder because I often will find feathers, and I I am guilty. I need to go back and make an offering because I'm like, oh, feathers.
Yeah.
And so, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. And I'm very grateful, but I do need to go back and
Yeah.
make an offering. And
and and it's like when you do, and this is how I explain it, because I teach a class called the Feather Way, but this is how I explain it. When you go back and really in some way go above and beyond to respect that and honor tradition and bring that offering to the bird and spirit of the bird will look back at you and say, you know what, out of the 7 billion people on earth, you're that one person that came back and truly honored my spirit, truly honored these gifts that were given, and you gave that back to me. You gave an offering of some sort. So I really appreciate that. And so therefore, of course I'm going to help you. Of course, whatever intentions or whatever you're going to make with these beautiful feathers, they're going to be energetic, more harnessed and stronger for whatever intentions you set into them. So that kind of goes back to that principality, the reciprocity between balance, us, nature, humans and nature, keeping that balance in check between our peoples.
Mhm. Beautiful. Okay, so let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to dive into your role as a seer. So how about
Okay.
that?
Okay. Sounds
Okay,
good.
cool. Have you created vision boards, listened to meditations, and read books on how the law of attraction works, yet you're still not where you want to be? The key to manifesting is focusing your attention on your big dreams consistently, fully embodying the feeling as if it's already happening. And that's why I created the Envision Experience, a revolutionary and simple 28-day process for powerful quantum-level dream manifesting. So if this sounds interesting to you, I'd love for you to join us. You can find out more at theawakenedgoddess.com/envision-experience. Now back to the show. All right, so I want to dive in and let's talk about your role as a seer. Like,
Okay.
I've always wanted to see things. I
Yeah.
see things, once in a while. It's not my strongest psychic ability. So I
Okay.
always love seeing through the eyes of someone else.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
And as I mentioned, earlier on in the conversation, I was talking about Navajo tradition. And what they have is it's like it gets really complicated, but there is a segment that is known as like they're the divinations. They provide the I guess suggest if you were to connect it to think of it as like you go to a clinic, a walk-in clinic, you go there and then you get the referral to see the specialist.
mhm.
It's no different. So the seers, the diagnosticians, they have a different variety of different modalities that they use. So there's what they call the crystal gazers.
Mm,
They use crystals. Then they have also charcoal gazers, which they look into the fire and work with the fire. Sometimes it's
cool.
both. Yeah, crystal and fire together, charcoal, and they see a lot of images that come out. Someone would, let's say, for example, if you were to come and say, Garrett, I'm having this issue. I have pain in my lower back. I'm having some hip stuff. I don't know. I'm feeling sometimes hard breathing. And so then as you're talking about it, I would be looking into the altar and looking into the fire in crystal. And then I'm seeing images of, maybe you offended Mother Earth somewhere, or that's where you start talking about the natural laws.
Mm,
And maybe somewhere in this you offended, didn't know, but now let's make amends, and this is what you need to do. So the divination would show me what particular ceremony that you may need at that time. So maybe if it's related to the lungs, something about wind, maybe like a dust devil that you stepped into or a hit. Because what they say in our tradition, they talk about these natural laws, these kind of governing laws that help flow and keep the planet running.
mhm,
And what happens is the humans, we come in, and if we're destroying, we're not supposed to, then we're going to have to deal with the consequences, right?
mhm.
So let's say, for example, like kid just saw that anthill, went over there, and boom, just kicked it, just because he was angry or just because he thought he wanted to. And all of a sudden, the kid starts getting sick. Something's going on. And that's where the divinators will come in, and there's da da da, and then I start seeing it. Oh, I see something where, did you ever kick an anthill, or the ants are pissed off that you destroyed their home? And then they're like, yeah, I did this. And I go, well, now it's that like you were talking about, you offended them, and now they're kind of trying to punish you in a way. So what we need to do is you would have an ant way ceremony to basically make amends, and then sing them back into balance, sing them back into harmonious resonance back with the people, with the ant people. And then a lot of times what ends up happening is, even though initially, there's a lesson with all of this. Initially it started off like, respect and reciprocity, but now that person becomes the practitioner of that particular ceremony because they're working with ant medicine. So, ants are all about building. So that's where you start to dabble into the whole notion of working with these elements and how to synchronize, how to utilize them. So from the seer perspective, we come in and we provide the referrals. We go, all right, you need to go see this chanter. He's a practitioner of the wind way. So go see them because it looks like you need to have that ceremony. So that's where the seers come into place. And mine comes from my grandmother. My grandmother on my mom's side. Mom comes from a family of 14. And she's the eldest daughter. And so I'm the firstborn grandson from the eldest daughter. And what spirit, and grandma told me, because she's in spirit form now, she said that I carry the lineage in my blood. It's in my blood. She goes, you come from a line of seers, you come from a line of chanters and medicine people. So when all of these abilities started coming to me, it was kind of like it just all correlated and came together for me. And so now I don't necessarily have to have an altar or have a crystal, because I have those abilities, like my uncle was saying, right here already. So that's where the third eye and that psychic sense, like you said, comes into play. So I do a lot of the readings, or I do a lot of the guidance and counsel, and I kind of look off to the side to the person. I look to the side because I'm reading them, and I'm reading an energy off to the side, and then also too encapsulating their akashics. So I start to look into their akashic records. This is where we start talking galactic. And so I start working with the galactic side of things and looking into their records and seeing, oh, well, it's more than just this lifetime. This is the reason why you have pain, or this is a phobia, your fear of drowning that comes from this lifetime and this lifetime. So what I end up doing is that's where I cater the healing to neutralize that. And that's where, a lot of the times it's a lot more simplified now, because Shirley's activations definitely help me in that instance. They've taken my healing to a whole nother level, so we can take those templates out and neutralize them from a very quick perspective.
Yes, and you're referring to Shirley Wolstock, a mutual friend of ours.
She's my star, literally.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, okay. So before we started and we were talking before the show, you said, some guides or some spirits were showing up. I'm curious. So who did you see? Who's here?
Initially, what started to come through, as soon as I was talking about animal totem realms, I was seeing a lot of butterflies behind you. It was like they were just lifting up and then flying, and then now they're like just fluttering behind you.
I love that.
Butterfly medicine is about change and transformation. So with you, it's all about like now you blossom in maybe a certain growing part or growing period in your life. Yes. Now you're blossoming into this beautiful form, and you're ready to fly. It's like you're flying on this journey. And what I'm hearing on top of this is that they're saying that I guess you're going on a journey somewhere. You're leaving, literally flying somewhere. That's what it's also correlating to. It's like you're expanding out. You're definitely expanding out, transforming. And so that's what butterflies are sharing in this instance with that particular arena that you're working with.
Well, I have to tell you, and guys, Garrett doesn't know this, but I am literally in the process of planning a trip to take the Awakened Goddess show to Europe. and it's like
Oh,
in the next couple months. So,
mhm.
and you
And
had no idea about this.
no, no. Oh, I didn't know. Yep, but that's what it was showing me. Because it was
Yeah.
like you look at you look at the stages of butterfly, right? It starts off with them cocooning, and they're building inside this cocoon, and then they start hatching, and then when they hatch, they break open that shell, and then they learn to they flap their wings. And then they dry their wings out too, but they learn how to fly, and then pretty soon when they're done, they're out. So what it's showing me is that with your life and your personal journey and the show and everything, it was in that cocooning stage in the last few months.
Hmm.
Transforming, getting all that work together, getting all of that information together. You also getting comfortable. Also building your character, and then now you're breaking open that cocoon, and then your beautiful wings are gonna come, and then you're literally flying, and now you're
Hmm.
traveling. See? Yeah,
Yay.
yeah, exactly. On your, I think it's the left. On your left
Mhm.
side, there's a grandmother figure. There's a
Mm.
grandmother elder. She's an ancestral spirit. She's giving me her name. Her name is Running Cloud. Her name
Hmm.
is Running Cloud, and she was a medicine woman, and that's where she's telling me that you were part of one of her initiates, I guess, in another lifetime. Um, and she's sharing with me that's where like your foundation, but also your interest in shamanism, because you've done it before.
Hmm.
You've done it before in that time. Um, and she's also giving me the name of the tribe, Arapaho, and that's Arapaho people were actually around here in Colorado. This was their
Oh.
native land, plains people. So when you think of like, for example, have you seen Dances with Wolves?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Of
movie.
course.
Yeah, of course, right? But that depiction of Plains life, and so that might have started that awakening, that remembering. When you start talking about past lives, I always tell individuals, it's like, why do you think you're drawn to that movie, or why are you drawn to that book?
Yes.
In most cases, it's because you lived it. And so it's just reminding of you of what it was like back in the day.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I know that I've had at least two past lives. Um, One where I remember I was killed with like a spear in the back. Like I was
Oh,
a
nice.
young boy, yes.
Hmm.
And then I was a young girl in the other. And then apparently, through my grandmother's side, there is maybe Blackfoot
Uh-huh.
and one other tribe.
Yeah. And the Blackfeet are right there in Montana, so that would
Hmm.
make sense because
Hmm.
you're pretty close to that area.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
do
and
you?
my family's also from Tennessee, so
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tennessee. Those are like the Cherokee
hmm,
and Choctaw. Those people were in that area.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yep. But grandmother is saying that it's that's kind of like these feathers that you've been receiving, validations from her, but also helping you remember, like you were saying, oh, I need to do an offering for that.
Hmm.
It's helping you, like she's here again to remind you, hey, don't forget your training. Don't forget your connection to your indigenous self, to your indigenous spirit. That's what she's being here as a guide for you, reminding you of that. She's telling me that she's gonna be with you throughout the journey, like as you're literally traveling and stuff and guiding you. You're going to be noticing a lot of connection back to like the natural realm, the
Yes.
natural world. So you'll be getting a lot of gifts around that.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated and drawn to like the uh Davis spirits. Is that how you pronounce it?
Oh
The
yeah,
Davic realm.
uh-huh.
And the fairies. And
Yeah.
I actually have, I believe I have a really strong connection with the Davic realm because I can say, it can be a cloudy day and I can say, hey, please, I would like to have some sun in the next 2 hours, or, please stop raining and I have an
Yeah.
interview or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like,
And
yeah.
and then this magically appears, right?
It does, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So let's take another quick break and
okay.
then we're going to keep having some more fun. This is just so
Okay.
much fun.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Are you an Awakened Goddess Show insider? Each and every month, our members receive lots of fantastic perks, including behind-the-scenes conversations from the show, outrageously fun virtual happy hours, bonus meditations, powerful activations, and healing energy work with the guests, exclusive gifts and private readings, on-demand access to the show, plus an invite to join our private community. Visit our website today at theawakenedgoddess.com for more information. Now back to the show. I'm having so much fun with this conversation because you mentioned the feathers, and I talked about this during the break with you.
Yeah.
But yes, so in one day I was walking along, and we had talked about this trip, right? And I was having some doubt, and I was feeling a little anxious and nervous, and I was like, oh, what's happening? And literally in a very small, like a 10-foot space, I found woodpecker and blue jay and a little osprey feather. I mean, it was incredible. So every animal, every bug, every critter has a message, a medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, if you can briefly talk about woodpecker and blue jay.
It's interesting because woodpecker, I'm going to speak strictly from the Navajo perspective. Woodpecker medicine is utilized when we're having, like what you were explaining about doubt. And what happens is sometimes when someone, let's say, for example, they have some hidden truths, maybe they're guilty about something, and they don't really, or they're not being that open book. They're, here I am trying to read them, and then I could feel like this closed off feeling. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to go there. So then I would bring in the woodpecker energy, do the prayer around that, and basically invoke, because what do?
Yeah.
They're doing it. So it's like drilling into that psyche to get them to open up. So from that instance, okay, now I see what's happening here, especially if there's some like guilt going on there and they don't want us to see. So woodpecker energy is helping to, like in your instance, it's driving, it's basically breaking through those obstacles that are coming to you. So the bird, the feather gifted these to you. So what you would do is you could do like a meditation with it, do a little simple prayer, invocation of some sort, and say, okay, woodpecker, let's go to work here. Whatever these obstacles and barriers that are coming up right now, all right, let's unleash. Go pack them out of my way. Let's break them open, So
Nice.
that's kind of the nature. And blue jay is protective. So it's kind of like they're very territorial. So when you find a blue jay feather, it's all about more or less, I guess, your own boundary for you, for protection for yourself. I'm actually seeing with you on that one is that feather you'll probably need to take with you as you go, as you travel, because it's also serving as a personal boundary. So, making sure that you're okay, as you're, just like randomly walking or wherever it is that you're going, even on the plane and stuff, you have that. And that's what it's servicing to you, because I think part of some of the fears that you may, or concerns that you have around the job, around this journeying too, is just that sense of like, okay, sense of security, and also some sense of control, like, okay, well, Spirit, I'm an open book, but I still got a little bit of issues. Still got control. I still got some sense of security because I'm flying abroad. So that's where Blue Jay would be able to help you in that, and to give you more sense of feeling protective and knowing that Spirit's got your back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Because and blue jay I actually get quite often at home. Like I'll just be walking the yard, and I will often. I mean, I have so many blue jay feathers, and that's like totally with the boundaries and protection. That has been a big part of my journey this last year. Well, and Garrett, those that are members, the Awakened Goddess Show members, Garrett's going to walk you through a special exercise to help you tap or connect with one of your spirit or animal helpers. So,
Yes.
yes, you talked about the galactic
Yes.
stuff.
Hmm.
So we just have a little bit of time left tonight. I just want to like dabble in that a little bit.
So with the galactic realm, and that's the part of me that's come through, working with Shirley Bolstock. She's really, like I mentioned, she activated me. I was doing the work to begin with. The healing work was a lot more accelerated, but when Shirley came into my life, she like took it to the next level. So a lot of the work that I'm doing now is definitely on a galactic realm. I've always had the star connection. I've always worked with the star nations. I knew that I was part of their people. I've seen the ships. I've seen the beings that come through. I've worked with a variety of different ones. And it's actually, Navajo tradition, they do have a diagnosis realm called the stargazers. So the stargazers are those individuals, I guess, who do have a strong star connection. So that's where, with me, that galactic part of who I am comes in. And so when I'm doing the healing work, I'm bridging now, going back to the bridge concept, being the ambassador, working with the star nations, so working with all the energies that come, the higher frequencies, and then basically grounding that into the planet, and then also helping and assisting the peoples of Earth with that energy, because since 2012, I've learned and understand that we are becoming more of the galactic human. We are becoming a more and more individual, not individual, on a collective consciousness. That's where that heart resonance comes into play. So we're working with that oneness concept, the concept of knowing that we all come from like one source, but also that aspect of us that's connected to first source is the cosmic starlight. So I've been saying that work with your cosmic starlight. We are cosmic starlight. I am cosmic starlight. And it goes back down to, if you really think about it, in Navajo tradition, the iron, they say the iron mineral that runs in our blood is connected to the iron core of Mama Earth, of the planet. And so therefore, yes, we're derivatives of Mother Earth. We are her children, literally speaking, through this mineral connection. But also at one time, Mama Earth also, during, scientifically speaking, they talk about the Big Bang. So that element, Mama Earth, was created as a result. So we all have that spark of the divinity within us. And this is what I've been sharing with a lot of individuals, because that cosmic starlight is what will bring the manifestations to make things happen on this earth. So being in the magic of things, being of the miracles, allowing that flow. It's like when you're in the flow of it all, boom, 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 validation after validation after validation, synchronicity after synchronicity and synchronicity, because that's the nature of the game right now.
Yes. Yes, and it's so fun to tap into that flow and then see all these things just pop. And I think it's just a matter of us opening, kind of expanding our awareness, like taking our glasses or our blinders and shifting them out.
Exactly. And then, some of the impediments that might have hindered the progress, that's where the healing part of it, like you had mentioned about, the native unfortunate passing with your connection there, that's where, like in that dynamic, we would be able to neutralize and bring resolution. If there's karmic consequences, karmic contracts as a result, as the reason why you needed to suffer or someone needed to suffer, that's where, I would say, are you done with it? And of course, a lot of the times they're like, yes. So I'll go in there and I'm like, all right, let's neutralize this. Let's clear it out. You're on bonus time now, so whatever joy and fun-filled things that you want to accomplish for you, it's ready to go. And they're like, oh my God, and they go through this huge transformation, like you were saying, huge transformation. They go back into that bliss. They go back into that excitement. So that's where it's important, to laugh and to keep it simple, not overcomplicated, to be in the fun and the joy of it all.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this is just like, this is such a fun conversation.
Play, right?
There's just so much to talk about. Yes.
I know.
Okay, can you talk, the work that you do with Shirley, just really quickly.
Yes.
And I know that this is a huge topic in and of itself. But can you describe, because you work with crystal skulls and bringing through the energy and anchoring in the energy of crystal skulls. What
Yes.
are the crystal skulls? I know they each have names. Who the heck are these crystal skulls? Where are they coming from? And what the
Okay.
heck?
Yeah, right. This is and Shirley, both Luck and I came together. This is part of our, in some sense, one of our soul missions. Shirley also has an awesome galactic connection. So what she and I are doing is we're bringing to earthly manifestation. When you're working etherically, when you're working on the ethereal realms, initially what Mama Earth had told me was that when things are being seeded here, there are templates or downloads that are incorporated into her physicality. It's like they're downloaded into this iron core, and that's where she builds them, she grows them. So initially, at one point, when Earth was being seeded way, way, way back in her infancy, there was templates coming, and this is where the Eagles have shared with me that their people came to Earth, and that template was downloaded into the planet. And then, the theory of evolution, that's where she built it. She created these animals. She created the dinosaurs, the trees, all that evolutionary processes with everything, even us. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was now makes me understand from a galactic nature of things is that everything energy first. Everything ethereal first. It starts off with a thought, or starts off with an inspiration, I should say. And then here on the duality of Earth, it manifests, it builds, it becomes that thing. Mm-hmm. And so with the crystalline skulls that we've been bringing in, you have the original 13 that goes into the dynamic of they serve foundational purpose. They serve to anchor and resonate and have the initial energetic connection with Mama Earth and all the peoples. Now, because we're a new Earth, we're continuing to build new Earth, continuing to work on collaboration, the additional ones are coming through. So since the 13, energetically, what Shirley and I have been bringing in is we brought in the 14th skull, which is Angelica. We brought in the 15th skull, which is Odin. And then recently we brought in the 16th skull. And each one has a different vibration. Each one has a different energetic resonance. All our job is, for me especially, is just to anchor it in to my body, but then at the same time to serve as that hollow bone, to serve as that facilitator, to bring that transmission through from another dimension, from another stargate, throwing through, and then flowing into Earth, being downloaded in template form, and now these souls are going to be manifesting and being created. That's what they've shared with us thus far about them. Yeah, wow. So each one has a different crystalline resonance. They're catered to other energies. And so each one also will have a message too. When we perform these ceremonies, I end up channeling them because that's just who I am. I have that background too somewhere. And so I'll start to be the voice so that, all participants who are there, they can hear what the skulls have to say. Yeah. So this last one, the 16th one, was pretty interesting because I actually had to dance. So I was sitting there like this.
I know. It was pretty funny.
And I was just busting out moves that I didn't realize I had.
I know. You were totally
yeah. Yeah.
A dancing skeleton.
Okay, yeah, I was in that energy.
Yeah. Did you go back and watch that video?
Oh, I haven't, but I probably should.
Yeah, it was fun.
We're the next two that we're going to bring in actually going to be, I want to say Neptuna. There's two of them that are going to come in at the same time. And the reason why is because one of them is the dolphin skull, which is connected to the ocean. And Shirley and I are going to be at the Star Knowledge Conference, and that's where we're going. We need to anchor it in before we go, because we're actually going to go on a dolphin tour as a closing to the ceremony and the conference. And we're going to be out there, and I know there's going to be some huge significant thing that happens because it's catered to the dolphins, but it's also helping the whales. But I think we're doing work with she said more of like a work around the tectonics of the planet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's world.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Mhm.
Oh, Garrett, oh my goodness. I wish I could like reach through the camera or reach through the screen and give you a hug because they
We could do
the
it there. He was like, hey.
I know. So, well, thank you so much. This was such a delightful conversation. I mean, we kind of bounced
All over.
so many places, but
Mhm.
yeah. So, but it was fun. So, thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.